What's going on, guys? It's your favorite college football podcast, the RPO podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerron Jones. I am so excited because we are 1 week closer to college football this year. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Let me introduce my guys while I'm at it, though. I got my man back in action, my guy, my man, Jacob Keppen. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good here.
Yeah, you ready to talk some football?
Yeah, always, always.
Oh, okay. He's always ready. You can't be ready if you're always ready. You know.
Yeah, no, you can't. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone around the house is tired of hearing me talking about defensive tackles all week that they don't care about. So here we go.
There you go. There you go. And of course, you guys already know the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ray Roberts. How you doing, Ray?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. You excited, sir? You excited for the season?
I'm always excited about football, man. We're only like 50 days away from all of it, so we're ready to go.
It's getting closer and closer. We got
Yep.
the end of July. We got August, and then September. September
Yep.
will be here. We got less, sort of a month, a little bit over a month. So I'm super excited about this, guys. First and foremost, if you're in here watching, thank you for checking us out. We are live right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But make sure if you are watching live, make sure you are able to put in your comments, live comments, and we will comment back and put it on our display right here. So if you have any questions, if you want to talk about a specific player, if you want to talk about a team, definitely put it in the comment section. We will do that. If you're watching later on, make sure you watch it later on YouTube. Therefore, we can reply to you guys or any questions or comments that you have in our chat room. We won't be able to get to you live, but we will be able to, get you those questions answered as soon as possible. All right, guys. Let's talk some football, and we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk about the interior defensive line. Now, if you haven't missed it, last week and the weeks prior to this, we've been doing all offensive players. Today, we're gonna get into some of the defensive players, guys. Super excited about this. I want to hear what you guys have on your top 10 list. They're always changing. I want to see if Ray got his 10A and 10B. Mr. Don't Break the Rules. So we're gonna start with Mr. Don't Break the Rules. Ray, who you have at number 10 on your interior defensive line list?
I have DJ Davidson from Arizona State. Good football player. Let's start by saying this is not a great class. You have some scheme fit guys that are solid football players, but you don't have anybody really who's a special athlete coming out this year. You have some big guys that will play in the NFL that will fit a scheme and make a role for themselves, but I don't see a lot of great talent this year. But again, I have DJ Davidson from Arizona State. He's one of them big body guys, 6'5", 320. His stats were solid this year, 19 tackles, 9 solo, 1 sack. His 2019 stats were way better though. 51 total tackles and 26 solos. We know with the pandemic last year, teams were like it was kind of a weird year. So I'm expecting him to bounce back and have a better year than he did last year. So
Definitely. What you would think about Davis, Kevin?
I thought he was solid. As Ray said, I think there were some solid guys in this year's class. I mean, the crown jewels kind of coming on later on in the years, but I think he's a solid player. He didn't crack my top 10. I liked his teammate better. We'll get to him, but yeah, no complaints. It's Ray's list.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hear yours.
I have two guys I want to look at here because I want to give love to two guys here because both are more sort of smaller school guys, not Power 5 conference guys. The first one, I want to look at CJ Brewer from Coastal Carolina. I believe we have a player interview with him, correct?
CJ Brewer, yes, sir.
He really stood out this year. On the stat sheet, had 11 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks. He's just a really disruptive player. You could tell the difference between him and some of the other guys that he's playing, like his competition. I like his power. I like his hands. One thing I want him to stop doing is spinning so much. It seems like he spins a lot. Like whenever he's trying to change directions, he always goes to the spin. But he's a good, solid football player. Put up big numbers last year. We're all rooting for him. My other guy I'm looking at is Jackson Player from Tulsa. A little bit undersized, but doesn't play like it. Tough guy. Sets a tone. Uses his natural leverage really well, and he's versatile. I've seen him used as a nose. I've seen him go all the way out to a 5-tech. So they use him all around there at Tulsa. He really flashed on the screen when I was watching the linebacker. Don't tell me I'm going to blank on his name now. Zayvon Collins. When I was watching Zayvon Collins at Tulsa, he really flashed. So I like those two guys there as my, I guess, 10A and 10B there.
Definitely. CJ Brewer, yes, we did interview CJ Brewer. One thing I love about CJ Brewer is the man always have a smile on his face all the time. So this guy really loves what he does, and he got that passion. Ray, what do you think about CJ?
I like Brewer. I think he's a one-gap type guy. He's going to guy who's going to penetrate the inside. I honestly think that I like Gerard Clark a little better than him, the other kid from Coastal Carolina. I think he's more of a guy who will be a scheme fit guy who could play as a 0 or a 1-tech, do a little bit in both formations, either a 3-4 or 4-3. I like Brewer, though, but I think if you play him, you have to play him with a guy who's a big body guy next to him so he can get one-on-one coverage, so he can get inside a little bit more.
I'd agree.
I like both of them. I think they're good players.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Jacob, let's get to your number 9 guy. Who you have at number 9, sir?
So I will say the difference between like my number 9 and probably like my number 6 or 7, very minute. Like it's not like this dude's not that good being 9. I got Fedarian Mathis from Alabama. One of the things I really like about him is the way that he's able to get hands on offensive linemen and then disengage as soon as he needs to. I know he's a guy who is expected to take that leap this year, and I think he has tons of potential to do it. I just need to see a little bit more. I like the tools that he has going on. He's very – you could tell he's a Bama player. Again, disciplined. He's smart in the run game, uses his hands well, and I just want to see more from him this year. I'm excited to see how he's going to do with if he could step up in that spot that Barmore kind of leaves now.
Definitely. All right, Ray, what do you think about the Alabama product?
I like him. I actually like the Alabama kid a little bit better. Dale a little bit better. But I mean, I like, again, like Jacob said, Alabama players. He's a very good run player. You can't really go wrong if you draft guys from Alabama usually. So yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
I see what you're saying though. I've seen people with the same opinion that they like him better than Mathis, and Mathis might be more of a projection type of thing. And I know he's talked about a lot more because of draft, because he's a guy that came in highly touted recruit and is shooting flashes. So I have no problem if you like him better than Mathis. No problem with that at all.
I mean, I like both of them. I think Mathis is a good football player too. I think Mathis is a little bit more of a run stopper, where Dale will be the penetrator and get in and get to the quarterback. So
yeah.
All right, Jacob. Who you have at number 9?
Who you got, Ray?
Ray.
Number 9?
Yes, sir.
I got Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. Good football player. Like, I agree with what Jacob said 100%. The difference between 4 and 10 is like this. Because there's no one really outstanding, no one special like there have been the last couple of years. I think you have a bunch of guys who will be a scheme fit type of kids who will fit your defense if you take him to fit your defense. Like, that's why I like to tend to go with guys a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Guys, like Jacob said, that can use their hands and their upper body a little bit more. I mean, I want you to use your legs too, but I know if you don't have good upper body strength and a good core strength, you're gonna have a hard time being a good run defender. So,
100%. All right, let's get to our number 8 guy, Ray. Who you have at 8?
I have Jaleb Hutchings from Texas Tech, another kid who I think is a little bit more of a penetrator, pass rusher also. Even though he only had 1 sack last year, his 2019 season was better. So, we're kind of projecting here because of last year being such a strange season. So I think that as a penetrator, a guy who's a good, solid run defender. Hutchings and a good football player for you. Again, I don't see anybody who I think, wow, he is really, really good. It's just a bunch of solid guys to bring in your team. So,
all right, awesome. Ray, I'm sorry, Jacob. What do you think about him?
Didn't crack my list, but I agree with Ray said. I will say though, I think there is one guy who, and he's going to be really high because I don't think there is that standout like senior or whatever yet. I think there's a guy in college who's going to be great and is almost there, and we'll get to him later on. I'm gonna have him too high, and Ray's gonna admonish me for it. I'm pretty sure Ray already probably knows who I'm talking about. We'll get to him later, but it's not even like a 4 through 10 type of thing where these guys could be so close together. It's almost like a 4 through like 15 or 20.
yes.
It's just like, yeah, these guys are solid guys. And it's weird because normally you see those standout defensive tackles. We just haven't seen them in the last maybe year or two now. Because last year was kind of a down year and you're seeing it now. Gonna have to get some of these recruits. Gotta build it up.
It was, I think, last year, like you saw, like everybody thought Marvin Wilson was going to be a special player, and he really struggled last year. So
yeah.
I'm thinking maybe this year will be a little bit different. Like where these guys we think are solid, maybe they take a jump, and maybe they're better than they projected from last year. Last year was a very strange season. So
That's all
you know what it is. You know what it is? We gotta get Jacob on the field. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Get Jacob on the field, man.
Listen, man, I got the natural leverage being like 5'3".
There you go.
I might not have the strength to, two gap, but it's fun. It's fun.
Definitely. All right. Who's next?
My number 8 here. All right. I have Dante Stills from West Virginia. I liked some of the good things I saw from him. He's a guy that's going to get into the backfield. He's nice and athletic. He's agile. When you see him on stunts, he has the power still to take on tackles. I'd like to see just a little more consistency as a whole. He also is a little smaller of a guy. I mean, it's weird to think that a guy that's like 280-ish is smaller, but that's kind of when you look at some of these guys later on, he is. And he's a good, solid football player that has the opportunity to ascend higher. And he's going to be someone that people like a lot this year because of his athleticism.
All right. Let's get to number 7. Jacob, who you got there, sir?
I got Jermaine Lulay from Arizona State. He's a guy that just absolutely bullies offensive linemen. He might not have the biggest bag in the world, but him just getting hands on guys and just wrecking their day, he's one of the best at it. And he's a little bit more agile than you would think he would be. A little more agile than you'd think he'd be. I think he really benefited from the transition to a 4-3 last year, as people from Arizona that cover the Arizona State tell me. And I think he's in for a big year this year. I like him.
Ray, what do you think about the Arizona State product?
I like Stills. Like I said, I like both of the guys from Arizona State. I think what it is, they complement each other very well.
Yeah.
One is a run defender, one is a one gap type kid.
Yeah.
So I think they're both good football players, and we talk about how much we like Herm Edwards and how much we like his defenses. So that's right along the same lines. You see it's more of a traditional type where they have one guy who's a run guy and one guy who's a penetrator. So it's fine. It is good,
All right, Ray, who you got number 7?
I had DJ Dale from Alabama. I think that this kid could be the one that moves up into that top 2 or 3 who's a little bit better than we think, because he has some good game film, but he was a little bit inconsistent last year, especially early on. But Alabama usually has kids that put things together, especially when they're getting ready to come out and make money in the draft. So
yeah,
definitely. All right, let's get to a number 6 guy. Ray, who do you got?
I have Keandre Coburn from Texas. Here's a guy who is a 0-1 tech nightmare who will just shut down the run game against most opposing offenses. I wish his feet were a little bit quicker because they were very sloppy. His footwork is a little sloppy, but he's a Texas kid, so I expect him to clean that up a little bit, just like I expect Texas. like every other year to be a little better than they show most years. But I mean, he's one of my favorite players. I like guys. I like the big fat guys. I do. So
All right. Captain, what do you think about him?
Didn't get to watch him yet. Was right on the list. I can't get that. I'm some of these guys I'm struggling to get tape on right now. I always do early in the season. What can I say? I don't. My dude's gotta. He's gotta get the stuff quickly. Come on, but I hear good things about him. It doesn't surprise me he's in your top 10. If I got some film on him, I'd probably have him in mine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
the funny thing is, when I played football, I was a one gap type guy. I wanted to beat the guys off the snap to the line of scrimmage. I wanted to get into the backfield before anybody else. But I tend to like the bigger, fatter guys as I watch them play now. So
okay. All right, Captain, who you got 6?
I got Tyler Davis from Clemson. He's a guy that came into last season with a ton of hype. I believe he was second team All ACC for defensive line. He had 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 45 total tackles in that year, and he kind of took a step back last year, mostly because of injuries. If you look at like his per game stats, they're pretty dang good. You look at his film, he's almost always around the football. He's almost always making plays. I think his potential is sky high, especially if you look at that Clemson defense, and we'll get to them later again. They just have guys everywhere, so you almost can't double one guy. So he's going to have plenty of opportunities to get in the backfield and disrupt things there. I like Davis. I'm higher on him than most people are right now.
Okay. What do you think about him, Ray?
I like Tyler Davis a lot. I would have had him as my 10B guy.
It's fair.
I think he's a good football player. Again, like Jacob said, Clemson kind of is another team. They kind of just roll them out and give them a role, and they kind of find their way.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm expecting Clemson to be right in the national title picture again this year, even though they did lose Trevor Lawrence. But I think their defense is going to be good, and I think the other kid that they have a quarterback is not bad either. So
yeah, and what can I say? I've shown the past couple of weeks I'm the big betting on potential guy, that a guy is going to take that leap, where you're more the, hey, he's shown us, and I'm going to take that bet on that guy that's definitely shown us, and we know that he's good.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I don't like about, not that I shouldn't say I don't like, that I find interesting about Tyler Davis is that he really wants to beat the guy off the snap and gets a lot of penalties called against him.
He does. He needs that fury's great. But
yes.
you gotta rein it in a little bit, have more discipline, and that'll come. That'll come with experience.
Using his hands a little bit more than he does right now, then he could excel to maybe a top 5 player.
Kind of likes to dart in more and uses athleticism more than just using his hands. But when he uses his hands, it's good.
No, he's going to be again. It's not that I don't think it's a decent class. It's okay. I just don't see any stars. I just see solid football players up.
They need to prove it first. They need to prove it and take that leap. I agree.
It's a shame we're coming off of last year, because last year was it was a beast of its own. It was a different animal. It really was, man. It was really weird last year. So
yeah,
definitely. And guys, we're about to head into our top 5. But before we do, again, guys, if you are in our chat room and you are watching, please leave a comment inside in our chat room. Definitely, we'll react to them live. So if you are in here right now, please do that. We always like to have some comments and some interaction from our fans. So definitely do that. All right, let's get to number 5. Captain, who you got at number 5, sir?
I have Neil Farrell Jr. from LSU. Big guy. If you're 1v1 blocking him, you're not going to push him back. He immediately draws double teams. I really like his ability in the run game as a guy that there's some guys who don't have the awareness. Like, they have ability, but you could just tell they're kind of just performing their role, their head's not looking around. He's a guy that's performing his role and his head's looking around, looking for where the running back's going. And what surprised me most about him is that he's a lot more agile than I thought he would be. Like, a lot more agile. I thought he was just going to be almost like a like his teammate Shelvin, where it's just like, all right, he's just gonna stand in one place, plug up the holes. No, he showed some potential as a pass rusher, and obviously he's not a guy that he's not gonna be Aaron Donald or anything. He's not gonna be a high sack guy, but just having a guy that can stay out there on passing downs and also clog up the lanes in the run game, it's valuable to have. I like LSU didn't have many things going good for them on defense, but I think he was one of the highlights.
Definitely. Ray, what do you think about Farrell?
I like Farrell. I actually have him as my number 5 guy too. That's where me and Jacob saw one guy we agree on. I mean,
I felt we would. I very much felt we would like him.
I think honestly, he's one of the few guys I could see him playing in a 3-4 or a 4-3.
Agreed.
Where you could play him outside as a 3 tech, play him inside as a 1. I wouldn't say necessarily a 0 tech, but if you put another 10, 15 pounds on him, possibly, because he definitely has the size and the length. Yeah. He's like 320-ish. If he were 335, I could see him playing that 0 tech and just using his power against kids. But I think that as a football player, there's a lot of upside with him. So
awesome. All right, let's get to your number 4 guy then.
I have Zach Pickens from South Carolina. I like Zach Pickens a lot. I think, again, he's a guy who could probably play in multiple type defenses. 35 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 16 solo tackles. A very good football player. And South Carolina is another one of the teams that they kind of produce defensive players that are under the radar usually until after you see them play, and then they come into their own a little bit. So
definitely. Kevin, what do you think about him?
Solid pick. Didn't crack my top 10, but solid pick in there. As we said, we're starting to get into, at least in my opinion, guys are going to be a little bit further on than these past guys. Just my opinion. Ray might think they're kind of the same in level of talent, but I think after here is where the gap starts for me, personally.
All right, well, tell us your number 4 then, sir.
Well, after my number 4, but I got Jordan Davis from Georgia. Could definitely be higher. If we're talking about who is the best at what their role is, then Jordan Davis is the best in this class. If you're looking for someone that's just gonna not be moved, he's gonna be an absolute force in the run game. You're not gonna be able to run up the middle at all. Jordan Davis is your guy. Watching line play against Georgia, when I see, I got film on this, it's against Georgia, it's terrible because he's going to absolutely disrupt everything. You're going to watch teams double team him, and he's not going to move. He's immovable. He's just a big boulder there that you can't move. I don't think he has that much in the pass game. But as far as a guy that's just going to absolutely improve your run defense astronomically, it's Jordan Davis. This is why Georgia's going to have one of the best defenses in the country this year.
Definitely. Ray, what do you think about him?
I have him a little higher than that, but I like Jordan Davis a lot. I think, again, he's a guy who could play in any scheme. He could play a 3-4. He could play a 4-3. I mean, I think he's got the size. He's got the length.
Definitely has the size.
He's at Georgia, so he's probably going to be a pretty athletic type kid. I would like him to lose a little fat, though. A little bit. I think, if he could just streamline a little bit. He looks a little sloppy in his technique sometimes. I think sometimes that is just him being a little lazy. So,
okay. All right, Kevin, who got number 3 then?
I got Perion Winfrey from Oklahoma, JUCO guy here, burst onto the scene this year. His best games were some of the best games I've seen in this class. You watch him against Iowa State, and they just had absolutely no answer for this guy. He's just such a good mover. When he uses his hands, it goes really well. Just an absolute disruptor in the passing game. I am such a big fan of Winfrey. I'm really a big fan of Oklahoma's defense as a whole. Their defensive line, because the other tackle there, Stokes, also impressed me. He didn't make my list, but LaRon Stokes also impressed me. Of course, they have the edge rushers. I was a big fan of what I saw from Winfrey, and I think he's going to take an even bigger step this year.
Definitely. Oklahoma have a pass rusher that we interviewed that I think he's going to be very good coming up this season. So, but we'll talk about it in our next podcast. Ray, what do you think about the Oklahoma guy?
I think he's a good football player. I didn't have him in my top 10, but I mean, I think he's a good football player. I mean, Oklahoma and defense don't usually go together, but we'll see.
Okay.
Listen, man, it's better than you. I don't know about their secondary or their linebackers. I know they're going to be able to rush the passer this year. They got 4 or 5 guys that can get in that backfield.
I agree with that. My problem is, can they cover anybody? Is my problem.
Yeah, I'm not the guy to ask for that one.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Ray, who do you have at number 3?
I have Gerard Clark from Coastal Carolina. I really like Clark. I think he's a good football player. I think 31 total tackles last year, 10 solo, 2.5 sacks. He does a little bit of everything. He's a good run defender. He gets after the quarterback. He doesn't always get there, which that is where I need him to step up and be a little better this year. He probably had a chance to have like 8 or 9 sacks last year if he got home a little bit better. But I think he's a good football player, and I think Coastal Carolina's defense is the strength of that team. So,
shout out to Coastal Carolina getting the shout outs lately.
Yeah, I think I got to give Clark another look. Then I mean, I'm.
And you know what the nice thing about him is he's 6'4", 335 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So for that size, he moves very well. So
I did notice that about watching him. Man, they had some guys at Coastal on the defensive line this year. They had some guys because you would be focusing on Clark, then you'd see Brewer, and then you'd see Teron Jackson absolutely destroy someone off the edge. The Eagles, man, hey, don't sleep on Teron Jackson, man. He's got some hands on him.
Yeah, I think that was the nice thing about it. With them two guys complementing each other. One is a guy who can really clean up on the run, and one can just go after the quarterback. So that's where I think they kind of work hand in hand with each other. And I expect Coastal Carolina to be good again this year. I do. So
yeah,
I agree. Let's get to our number 2. Right, who do you have number 2, sir?
Haskell Garrett from Ohio State. I have him at my number 2. Stats again are a little misleading. Only 20 total tackles, 12 solo, two sacks. But again, it's Ohio State. You're like one of 7 good players on defense. So Jerome, I know you're a hater, but
you're not lying.
Yeah, man, I say it all the time. Out of the Big Ten teams, the one team that can compete on an every week basis with the SEC teams is Ohio State. And Jerome knows this. I don't like Ohio State.
Yeah,
not even that much. Not even.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they put athletes in the field, man. So that's what it's all about.
Ray, I like your old school mentality because you was like that close from saying the Big East.
Yes. Yeah. I should have said the Big Ten, but I'm usually just calling them the Big East because that's
I got you. All right, Kevin, who you at number 2, sir?
Haskell Garrett. His on field is better than his stats show.
Absolutely.
He's a very big disruptor. He's in the backfield a lot. The number one thing he's got to work on this year is just finishing. Finishing those sacks more, finishing those tackles for loss more. Again, he's a guy I was kind of surprised didn't go into the draft last year with how not great of a class it was last year. You didn't see there wasn't a single defensive tackle, I don't believe, that went in the first round last year because Barmore went in the second to the Pats. Yeah. So you had a very lesser, not weaker, but not as talent heavy. Yeah, flashy. Because there was depth. There was plenty of 4th, 5th round guys, but not that over the top guy. So I'm surprised a guy like Garrett didn't go. But hey, he might play himself into a high grade this year.
Awesome. All right, it's time to reveal your number 1.
I want to hear Ray. I want to hear Ray's first. I want to hear this.
Okay.
I'm prepared to hear that.
I have Jordan Davis at number 1. I do. I know his stats are not great, but I do like him. I think that he can play in multiple defenses. I just think that he has the most upside of all the guys I saw play. So
two of these classes we've had this happen again, Ray. What is going on? What is going on? This is two of these videos we've done now.
Yeah.
Man.
What am I gonna do, man? The one guy I
man.
like, who I'm waiting to see, who I think I could have had in my top 10, and of course Jerome is gonna love this, and I kind of kept him out because I wanted to see more consistency, is Chris Hinton from Michigan. I think Chris Hinton is going to be a good football player. I just need to see more consistency from him. But, honestly, you could have said that about the whole Michigan roster last year. So,
100%. We're actually going to talk about Michigan later on.
Really?
so
I'm at a loss right now.
I'm trying to hold my tongue as much as I can, but
I'm
Kevin,
at a loss.
Who you have at number one, sir?
This might be my brand, putting freshmen sophomores too high. I got Brian Bresee from Clemson. I think his potential is absolutely sky high. I think he has top 3 draft potential. He moves incredibly. His hands are super strong. He just needs to develop some calendars, because when you watch him, when his plan goes through, I've seen him grab dudes that are at least 20, 30 pounds bigger than him and just throw them out of their way. He did it to Notre Dame. It's just the calendars aren't there for him yet. I'm a little disappointed, and I know the stats weren't quite there, but he impressed me. It was like, all right, I'm gonna give a little analogy or whatever. It was like when I was listening to the Beatles albums. I went through their entire discography, and I said, you know what, Abbey Road's gonna be overrated. Everyone hypes it up. It's gonna be overrated, and then it became my favorite album ever. It's my only album I have on vinyl. That was Brian Bresee to me. The hype for me was real. I'm riding the hype train. You can join next year if you want to.
All right, Ray, I want to hear your explanation for not having him on your top 10 at all, too, because he was one of the guys that I was like, I think at least one of these guys are going to have him on their top 10. You don't have him on there at all, right?
No, because I think he's a rotation type guy, to be honest with you. I don't think he's going to get more than 40%, maybe 50% of the snaps. I think he's a good athlete. I think he'll play. I see a lot of the Clemson guys as rotation type guys. I do. So, and there's no such thing as a bad Beatles album, dude. Just so you know that.
Oh no, there's literally not at all. They have literally everything's their worst album's better than most people's best.
Yeah, I mean, I as Jerome knows from our conversations about rap back when Ryan was doing the show with us, I am a huge Beatles fan. So
Definitely. Yeah, Ray's the guy. So
we'll see on this Bresee thing. We'll put a little topic in there.
Put a pin on this.
Yeah, I would say we could have a little wager, but I always win and collect on them, so it's all good.
No, to be fair, Ray have a hot streak on wagers. He does. He really does.
Ryan and Jerome both owe me dinner for like 3 years now, but it's okay.
Is that when it comes to Logan Wilson?
What's that?
I said when it came to Logan Wilson. I won that one.
You didn't win that. He stinks. What did he do last year?
Well, he still got in the second round.
Okay.
And he did get drafted in the second round, like I said.
Well, no, it's okay if you when I picked Zach Allen like 2 years before he came out, and then he's a stud when he gets in the league. That's okay.
I do that.
You were right. He did get drafted before I thought he was going to.
Yeah,
but when he puts up more than eight tackles for a whole year, then we'll talk about him.
Listen, we'll see how he does in his second year. He looked good at the end of the year. He looked better at the end of the year. I'm not gonna say.
I'm just saying. You look at every publication. That means ranked highly for a reason. I don't know though. Maybe they don't know nothing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I don't know nothing. We'll see. That
is the one thing that me and Alan and Ryan would go around all the time, because they would act like, or they would say something and then act like that was it. That was fact.
Yeah.
As we know, the draft is a crapshoot.
Oh yeah.
None of it is fact. It's all a matter of opinion. So.
That's why I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Usually my record, especially on defensive linemen, is pretty good.
All right. Well, we'll see this. I'm a little biased because like I was a
And you know what's
super
funny?
fan of him in high school. So like,
You know what's funny about it though? The one year when Clemson was loaded with defensive linemen, I picked where every one of them guys were going to be picked.
huh,
Every one of them. I had Cleveland Farrell going before Zach Allen, even though I thought Allen should go better before him. I had him going before that. Even the fat defensive tackle, I can't remember his name.
Lawrence.
Everyone's like, "Oh, he's not a first-round pick." I'm like, no, athletically, he's probably not, but he's a Clemson guy, and he's going to go earlier than people think. And the Giants were stupid and took him at 17. So,
Not their worst pick that year. Probably there was probably two worse. Wow, there was probably two worse. One of them's not on the team anymore.
It's funny. Like I am not a Gettleman guy. I don't think he's a great GM, but I think last year he probably had his best draft since he got the Giants job.
As the Eagles fan, he definitely did.
Yeah.
But let's get to some other teams in college football. We're going to talk some state of the program. Now, if you guys have not been following us, this is where we take a couple of teams, see where they were last year, and compare them to where they're going to be this year. So we're going to pick our teams. We do some random teams each week. This week we got a couple of good teams in here to talk about, and the first team we're going to talk about is TCU. Right, you had something to say though.
No, well, you were saying we have a couple good teams in here, and I was wondering if you meant by reputation or by are they really good?
Good teams to talk about, right?
Okay. Interesting team. It's not me.
You gotta listen to the whole. Like you can't do the media thing to me. Cut off half what I say.
Got you.
Context
It's all good. It's all good there, Wolverine. It's all good.
Anyway, we're gonna talk about TCU today. TCU. So last year with TCU, they ended the year 6-4, being led by their quarterback Max Duggan, who struggled a little bit last year. So we're gonna see how he does this year. Their schedule for this year is they got Duquesne to start the season. They got Cal, SMU. They got Texas Tech, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Iowa State. So, Kevin, I'm gonna start with you. Better, worse, or about the same? How are they gonna do this year?
That's a rough ending there. That's a really rough patch of teams. But then again, Big 12's it's a pretty good conference this year. I'm gonna say about the same. I think the roster's taken some steps back. They lost probably 3 of their 4 best defensive players. I mean, it all depends on how the quarterback does this year, if they can do better. But I think there's winnable games, especially earlier in the year. So they're about a 500-ish team for me. Maybe a game above, maybe a game below. Like they're that middle of the pack team that's going to give some teams some trouble. They might upset a team, but they're not like a Big 12 championship contender.
Yeah, and the TCU last year they ended the season pretty well. I mean, winning the last 3 of the games, one against Kansas, one against Oklahoma, and Texas Tech. They had a chance to play in Texas Bowl, but it got canceled. Ray, what do you think about this team? What do you think they're going to be better, worse, or about the same?
I kind of agree with Jacob. I see like a 500 type team.
Yeah.
Maybe they go 7-5, but I see like a 6-6 type record. I think they have a couple easier games early on, and then they have a really tough stretch where they play Texas Tech, and Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They could lose all 3 of them games very easily. So I see a 7-4. I mean a 7-5, 6-6 team. So probably a little worse than last year.
Real quick before we get to our next team, what is your guys' thoughts on Max Duggan?
I mean, it's tough because I alienated myself against him so early on to try making that Rager pick sound a lot better than it did when we drafted him. Saying, "Oh, the quarterback, he couldn't put a ball on target." Blah blah blah. He wasn't. I don't know. He could do some things on the ground, but like he's the typical college quarterback where he can run He can make some throws, but it's like kind of he's doing very one-dimensional stuff, like the one read, some RPO stuff. Like it's anything complex. You're not going to want to trust him to beat you with his arm. Well,
Yeah,
you do trust him to beat. Yeah.
I personally think he's too quick to run. When it comes to things. Ray, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think that, like you said, he is a total. Let me make this read. If it's not there, I'm going to tuck the ball and try to make something happen.
Yeah.
But that is that's scary to me. I think that like he put his team in a lot of bad situations last year with like second longs. But I think he's a solid college quarterback. I just don't see nothing. He doesn't do anything exceptional. He's just solid everywhere. You know,
he's a solid college quarterback.
Correct.
And that's not great if you're looking from a pro perspective, but once you take yourself back, you're like, yeah, there's definitely worse than him. There's definitely
absolutely
worse out there.
He has solid size, and he has a solid arm, and he's a solid athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Can he put it all together and be a good player? That's where I don't think so.
I agree. All right, let's get to our next team, which will be East Michigan out of the MAC conference. They were 2-4 last year, losing out the first 4 and winning the last 2. This year they got St. Francis, Wisconsin, UMass,
Wisconsin.
I'm sorry,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
My God.
Yeah. UMass, Texas State, Northern Illinois, Miami, Ball State, Bowling Green, Toledo, Ohio, West Michigan, and Central Michigan. So, Ray, I'm gonna start with you. What do you think about Eastern Michigan this year?
I think that again, you're going to see a team that's like a 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see where they can compete against good teams. I don't think they're that good. I think they had a solid year last year. They actually didn't. No, I think they'll be better than 2-4, but I see like a 500 type team.
Yeah, this is a team that's coming back with a lot of starters. I mean, they only have 6 new players on both offense and defense. So, Captain, what do you think about this team? Do you think that will help them out to be a better team, or do you think it's going to be about the same or worse?
Everything comes down, in my opinion. It sounds weird. I think we are going to truly know what Eastern Michigan is this year with their Massachusetts game, because they're going to have a really, really, really hard game against Wisconsin. Most likely, they're not going to fare well. It's going to be really bad for them. It's going to be a really bad loss. How are they going to rebound from that game? And playing a team that, I mean, we're a team that scored 10 points on offense last year, but Eastern Michigan's one of their winnable games. If a loss to a team like UMass, we could be talking about a team that's winning only like 2 games despite there being more. But hey, if they bounce back and win, they could find themselves in like a 500-ish. I don't know. I think they're about the same. I'm not that impressed with them. I know they're bringing back starters, but there's just some better teams in the MAC right now than them. They're still one of the bottom tier team MACs.
Yeah. To be fair with the Michigan though, all the four losses, except for the Toledo game, were close games. I mean, losing to Kent State by only 4, losing to Ball State by a touchdown, losing to Central Michigan by 8. They were in a lot of those games. So, but like you said, Captain, they have a lot of tougher teams. You said, Wisconsin's going to be tough. Miami's going to be tough for them. They lost to Toledo last year.
Western Michigan's going to be a tough one too. Yeah. They have some impressive players, even if they actually got a guy drafted this year at Eskridge. They still got impressive. That's the thing. When you look at the MAC, it's like almost all of those games are going to be tough contests. You know, there's no like really like super. It's not like the SEC where you see like a Vanderbilt and then an Alabama. It's you kind of have more of those middle tier teams all just lumped together.
Close teams, yeah, definitely. All right, let's get to the next team. Obviously, this team is close and dear to my heart.
Oh
Michigan.
gosh.
We're gonna talk about them, guys. I will say this though, before you talk about my team, be easy, be easy. I mean, we had a rough year last year. It was rough. It was really rough. So Michigan, my team, obviously, 2-4. I never thought I've ever heard that in my life. Only 2 wins in the season, but yes, the Michigan were 2-4. Won their first game with Minnesota, and man, that game made me was like, oh man, this team looks serious. And then Michigan State happened. So Michigan State losing to them had to come back to even get close and lost on a last minute touchdown to a guy that inside the Hatchers interviewed. So that hurt Casey Hayward brother. So that hurt not Casey Hayward. I'm sorry. Hayward though. Cameron Hayward. Cameron Hayward's from the Steelers' little brother. Got the finishing touchdown on us, so that hurt me seeing a guy that we interviewed that was a good guy and he finished the game against us. Then losing to Indiana, that was a very embarrassing game. Wisconsin, super embarrassing, 11-49. I was just like, that. I remember Ray after that game. I was done with this team. I was completely done with that team. Winning in triple overtime to Rutgers.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Shameem Jones and Bo Melton absolutely torched you guys, man.
Yeah,
hey, Bo Melton's good though. Let's get the hype train going. But yeah,
it shouldn't have been that way.
I mean, should it not have been?
No, I shouldn't have been.
This isn't 2005 here. This isn't
Listen.
2005.
Anyway.
Or 2015, like.
And then losing to Penn State after they had a rough year also. And then the last 3 games were canceled, including the Ohio State game, which probably was probably for the better, to be honest. But we got some good players coming back. We got Hussein Haskins, a running back that I'm very intrigued to see how he does being converted from a linebacker. He had a very solid year last year. He's going to be leading the charge in the running game. A guy that we interviewed, Eric All, I still have high hopes for him. He showed some promise last year. He did have some drop issues. Hopefully that helps. That goes away. Offensive line looking really strong. Like Ray said earlier, Adrian Hudson, Christian Hintz, and Donovan Gier and on our defensive line. Linebackers, John Ross, I love him. I think he's one of my favorite guys. Obviously, our safeties are really good as far as Brad Hawkins. He's going to be a senior this year. And
Jersey guy.
Yes, sir. Oh, I met his dad, by the way.
I saw his team lose to us in the chip. That was fun.
Yeah, and Daxon Hill, are highly recruited safety. So I want to hear what you guys think. You think they're going to be better this year, worse, about the same? Start with you, Kevin.
I mean, how much worse could the team get? I mean, to say they're going to be worse than only winning 2 games. Games would be ridiculous. Who are they playing is the big question.
I didn't go through
that's the thing. I need to see
Western Michigan, Washington, Northern Illinois, Rutgers, Wisconsin, at Wisconsin, at Nebraska, Northwestern, at Michigan State, Indiana, at Penn State, at Maryland, Ohio State. I see 7-5.
Yeah, that seems like a very much with this team. I'll say this: the quarterback play will be better. The quarterback play will definitely be better with.
The real question is, when will Jerome call for Harbaugh to get fired?
I mean, I can't now because he got that new extension. I don't know what the heck that.
Listen, man, it doesn't.
How you become 2-4 and get an extension? I want to know so I can get an extension at my job because
Jerome, you're Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. Yeah, like listen, I think McNamara is definitely better than what Milton was. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Haskins. I don't know that some of the guys you listed on defense that you got some returning guys, but there's some guys that last year just looked. Michigan looked lost last year. They looked defeated last year. They looked. I hate to say it, they looked badly coached. They looked like a team that just were completely discombobulated and not there at all. Like it's almost like they had to be there. Like those players all just had to be there. It's like, oh well, let's get this out of the way and then we can go party later. But like that's what it felt like. It was like a chore almost for them, like an obligation. And that's not Michigan football at all. You know, that's not the passion that you usually see in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, and now it's I agree with you, Kevin, 100%. The defense definitely looked defeated. Losing a couple of our star, guys due to COVID, that didn't help either. Yeah. Especially at the cornerback position, it was horrible. Watching that, seeing what's his name not be there. I'm blanking on his name, but yeah, I'm not sure why I'm blanking on his name, but yeah, he opted out for COVID, and the cornerback position was getting torched, and that was very, very obvious during the Michigan State game. Yeah, very. I mean, getting torched by a freshman wide receiver, and White. Don't get me wrong, the kid looked nice, and I hope he does really well, but we was getting torched by him the entire game. So Don Brown is not on the team no more. We got the linebacker coach from the Ravens, now our defensive corner. So we're gonna see how that go. Hopefully it's a little bit better with him. Hopefully we got some returning guys, a couple of new starters as at linebacker with Taylor Upshaw and David Ojabo. So we'll see how that goes. With the whole thing with Cade, I think that he's going to be a solid quarterback, but I will be very curious if they try to start JJ McCaffrey. Even though he's a freshman, he might be a true freshman. He might play. That's still in the air. That's still a possibility. So we'll see how that goes. Ray, anything you want to say?
No, I think you covered just about everything. I mean, they do have 8 returning starters on offense and 9 on defense, so that should be let them maybe hit the ground with their feet underneath of them pretty well. And I do like Hassan Haskins. I think he's a good football player. And they bring in Donovan Edwards, a 5-star running back this year to help out with the running game. I think they're going to be better than last year. I don't expect Michigan to play like Jacob said. They looked lost at times last year. And if Harbaugh, if they do that again, then I mean, I know they're not going to fire Jim Harbaugh, but someone has to really take him in the woodshed and tell him, yo, man, we need to straighten this out. This, I'm a Notre Dame guy. Everybody knows that. And I don't have good feelings for Michigan. I don't. But I do expect them to play and look like Michigan. And when they don't, it doesn't feel right to me. So
100%. 100%. I 100% agree with that. All right, let's get off this team a little bit because I'm getting.
It's all right, Jerome. You're not on the. I don't know where you live right now. You're not in a high building anywhere, right, dude?
No. I'm low to ground.
Okay, good for you.
I can't jump out the window. If I jump out the window, I might like.
Okay, you don't have any like ropes or nothing hanging around, do you?
No. It's gonna be a year. I'm actually more prepared for a worse year this year than not.
No, I don't think.
At least you have the Eagles to help you.
I don't think you get
bad year than last year. Let's say that.
Yeah, I don't think you get any worse than last year. I don't. So
no.
And I think, like, honestly, all kidding aside, I think Jim Harbaugh is a prideful guy. I don't think he'll let them be unprepared like they were last year. And again, we talk about it over and over again. last year was a weird year, man. Week to week, not knowing who you're going to play, who was going to be on your roster that week, who was going to have to sit out the game,
How do you even prepare?
where you were going to play. I mean, it was just a crazy year. So.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. All right, let's get to another Big Ten team, and that will be Minnesota. Now, Minnesota had a very disappointing year. A lot of people thought they was going to be a lot better than they were. They ended the season 3-4, losing to us in the first game, then following that up with a loss to Maryland, winning against Illinois, losing against Iowa, winning against Purdue. 2 games got canceled with Wisconsin and Northwestern, winning against Nebraska and losing in overtime to Wisconsin. That game got rescheduled, so they did play Wisconsin, but originally got canceled. So some returning starting guys. Obviously Tanner Morgan, the starting quarterback, the senior quarterback. We're gonna see how he does and how he progressed from having a down year last year. Obviously Muhammad Abram, he's gonna be their star running back. He's really highly recruited guy and a highly sold out guy, and they had him in his top 10 when we was talking about running backs earlier in this year. Obviously they lost their wide receiver and that went to the Baltimore Ravens, Bateman. So we'll see how the receivers do there. But they still have Altman Bell, which was a good receiver for them. So let's talk about their schedule real quick, and then Ray, you can talk about how you feel about this team. So obviously, right out the gate, playing Ohio State. That's crazy. Right out the gate, playing Ohio, Michigan of Ohio. They playing Colorado, Bowling Green, Purdue, Nebraska, Maryland, Northwestern, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, and Wisconsin to end the season. Ray, better, worse, or about the same?
I see a 7-5, 6-6 record, to be honest with you. I hate to keep going back there, but I think Minnesota is a fairly well-coached team. I do like PJ Fleck. I think he's a very good coach. I just think that they're overmatched with the caliber of teams that are on their schedule this year. So,
yeah, to start the season, Ohio State, that is rough. I mean, that's not the way you want to start your season.
After that though, it gets really simple in a way. But then they play Nebraska, Maryland, which isn't great. They play at Purdue, Nebraska, and then they take it easy against Maryland. But they play at Northwestern and Illinois, Iowa. That's a tough stretch of games right there too. So
definitely. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a very bad feeling that the first game is going to go very bad for them. And please don't tell me that's a night game. Oh, it's a night game. It's prime time. I have a bad feeling that Morgan might be the same guy from last year and have a bad one and have like a really bad stigma about him again this year. I really hope he gets back to his 2019 self. We were all hoping for him to improve, and he took a really, really big step back this past year. And they're an okay, solid Big Ten team. They're gonna be in some really boring games, as is tradition with Big Ten. 6-6, 7-5. They're an okay team. They're gonna have some good moments, some Big Ten moments.
Definitely. All right. Hopefully they become a better team than we think. I thought it was fun seeing them as a good team 2 years ago. So hopefully they can bounce back, but it's not looking good, especially with that first game, the first and last game of their season. It's not something you want to be sandwiched in between. All right, let's get to our next and final team, Auburn, the Auburn Tigers. So the Auburn Tigers ended the season 6-4 last year. Being 6th ranked in the SEC, winning a lot of their games in the middle of the season. Some losses here and there. Obviously, they lost to Alabama. They lost to Texas A&M. South Carolina, and Georgia. So they didn't have the worst season because they played some really good teams. They lost to Northwestern in the Citrus Bowl. Um, and some guys that are returning, and just like last time, talking about a player that we thought was going to be better, Bo Nix, coming in, haven't looked that good. His second season, and we all thought that maybe his potential was going to be higher with the type of freshman season he had. It wasn't the greatest freshman season, but he showed some promise, and he didn't really move. The needle didn't move at all, I don't think, from his first season and second season. So let's get to the schedule, and then we're going to talk about how we think they're going to fare. First game is going to be against Akron. Second game is Alabama State. Third game will be against Penn State. Fourth game will be Georgia State. Fifth game will be LSU. Sixth game will be Georgia. Seventh game will be Arkansas. Eighth game is Ole Miss. The ninth game will be Texas A&M. 10th will be Mississippi State. 11th game will be South Carolina, and they will end off with Alabama. Captain, the Auburn Tigers, better, worse, or about the same?
Be honest, they were 6-5 last year. Yeah, I think they're taking a little step back. I'm not a Bo Nix believer. Did not like him that much his freshman year. Confirmed every fear I had about him last year, and he's losing most of his supporting cast. They're gonna be able to stay in a lot of good games with their defense. I'm pretty sure they're returning guys on their defense, but I don't know. I don't trust Nix. He makes too many, just not even bad decisions, but it's baffling decisions. Unless he can really just have like a Josh Allen like transformation next year, I'm not buying it.
Okay. Ray, what do you think about this team?
I agree with Jacob. I see if they're lucky, a 500 type team. I'm not a fan of the quarterback. He's too inconsistent. His footwork is sloppy. He's got a solid arm, but he doesn't set his feet when he uses his solid arm. He's not a good quarterback. I mean, I hate to say it. He's more of an athlete than a quarterback. And I think he thinks he's a better athlete than he really is, to be honest with you. He thinks he can get away with everything.
Yeah.
You look at the South Carolina game last year. They played better than South Carolina, except for him, and lost because he was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, to relieve him, they got Tank Bigsby. Guys, what do you think about Tank Bigsby on this team as a running back?
Definitely up and coming guy. Having a guy like he's a big play guy whenever he gets the ball. I'm a big fan of him. I think you're going to see him featured a lot next year, to be honest, especially with the top receivers gone. They're going to try incorporating him as much as they can. Yeah, at least I would.
Yeah, they lost Seth Williams and
Schwartz.
Schwartz, yeah. Right. What do you think about Bigsby?
I think he's a good, like Jacob said, he's an up and coming young running back. He's a good football player. If I were Auburn, I would lean on him more than the quarterback. But again, until I see him put a good, solid season together, a stretch of games, I'll wait and take it at that. I mean, I think that if Auburn were smart, they would run the ball a little more than they do and try to take pressure off the quarterback. But again, if their offensive line's not great, and that's a big problem also. So
definitely. Auburn is one of those teams that it's going to come down to the quarterback, to be honest, and we're going to have to see how he does. And like you said, they had a weak offensive line too, so that doesn't help when your quarterback's bad and he's like running for his life. So it's not a good combination at all. So we'll see how all these teams do, and I'm super excited to see how the season shakes out, and who will do good and who will take that next step, and what players will be better. And this is what we do. We love to analyze these teams and analyze all this each year. So guys, make sure you check us out again next week, because we're going to do this all over again. And Yeah, I said next year. Next
Dude,
week.
make sure to check us out then too. But
Yeah. Check us out all the time. We always gonna be here, guys. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. All right, no stop. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for checking us out. Please make sure you check us out on InsideTheHatches.com. where you can find all our content. These podcasts. We got gaming. We got fantasy football. We got player interviews. We got all that good stuff. So make sure you go check us out. InsideTheHatches.com. Also, check us out on all social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And make sure you check us out on all our podcast platforms where you can listen to all the player interviews. There's a couple of players that we talked about today. You can listen to their interviews on there. Just search Inside the Hatches on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Go there, check us out. We have some great content and some great interviews, so make sure you check that out also. Guys, thank you so much for checking us out. And also, if you are on our YouTube channel, make sure you like and subscribe on there so you know when we are live, so you can get your live comments on there as well. But if you did miss it and you're looking at this on a recap, you can definitely go in and put a comment down below. Make sure you do that because we can talk about one of your favorite players next week if you want, or one of your favorite teams. Actually do this. If you are watching on a recap, put your comment down below, and we will talk about the team of your choice if we haven't talked about them already. So if you have a team that you want us to talk about, put it in the comment section right down below, and we'll talk about them on our next podcast. But guys, that will do it for us today. I'd like to thank Mr. Ray Roberts and Mr. Kevin for getting on with us today. Always great to have you guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about edge rushers, so definitely talk about that because we got some great players to talk about. So I'm your host, Jerome Jones. We got Ray Roberts right over here. We got Kevin, Mr. Jacob Kevin right down there. Guys, thank y'all so much for checking us out. Thank you so much, and we see you next time. Peace.